Ohio State, Georgia, Atlanta. That'll be one semifinal. The other one, fellas, going out west, Michigan Wolverines and TCU. Both these teams have had all kinds of momentum watching them. Michigan, it's like watching their season the whole way. You're like, okay, good. That's another good win. Well, that's another good win. That's another good performance. But in everybody's mind, but Columbus, they go through, blow the doors off of Ohio State, so they get through that echelon. And now we watch them up against TCU. Some have called it a team of destiny. Um, 4 or 5 one-score games and a field goal to win an expiration. Tough battle in their conference championship. How would you rank these 4 units in this game? Felder, I'll go with you first.
I just want to say one thing. You want to talk about having killers in your huddle? TCU.
Yeah.
Johnston, Barber, Williams, Wiley came on strong in that game.
Yeah.
These guys, they got dudes there. They got real. Those aren't like good for TCU dudes. Those are dudes that are going to play on Sunday.
Yeah.
So if I had to rank these units, I think probably Michigan defense 1. I'm not in love with Michigan's offense. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, even watching them yesterday.
Ooh. Yeah, 4. I agree with Hack. 4.
Yeah. Okay. Then
Blake Corum ain't coming back.
Right. Exactly.
They got some dudes, but they do stay within their budget. They know they have the smallest budget. They shop within their budget. They stay, complement the defense. I'm not opposed to saying Michigan's offense in this game is for really of any of the games, maybe out of the whole lineup, if we're going to be all the way on it. No, they're not. Michigan's offense is not. I wouldn't put them below Ohio State's defense.
But what was JJ last night? He was 11 for 17.
Real economical.
Incredibly. And I am truly
fiscally conservative.
I think you can win the Big Ten that way. I don't know if you can win the playoff that way. You might be able to beat TCU because they are a smaller football team than you. And you can lean on them. I mean, I was watching the game last night, and the biggest thing for me was I going in, I said, you know what? If Purdue's within 8 at halftime, they've got an opportunity. Now we see 2 awful interceptions.
Yeah.
And that opened up the game because it gave Michigan extra possessions. But coming out of that football game, I was like, Donovan, they've got Donovan Edwards and
a bunch of dudes just trying to come downhill. They don't really have it's the ultimate look of a committee. Hack, I go with Felder. Michigan's defense is easily, I don't know if it's easily won, but it's won, in my opinion, in this game. How would you drop another 2, 3, 4 units?
Like I said, I mean, to me, it would probably be TCU's offense as like a 1B for the reason that Felder brought up. 2.
And by the way, Kendre Miller. Don't forget Kendre Miller too.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of guys they could get the football to and who can win. And then, I mean, I think like it's a tussle between TCU's defense and Michigan's offense, just because, again, I think it's more of one of those things that you say, George, where it's a matter of styles, right? Like, I think Michigan's offensive style doesn't really bode well for TCU's style defensively. But if they can get Michigan behind the sticks a couple times and force them to start throwing the football, then it bounces out, right? So what do you have to do in order to do that? What type of risks do you have to take on first and second down? Right. And how much film study and how much game planning and tendency study do you need to do in order to be able, like, okay, I know I can take this risk right now and be 100% confident in it without getting bit in the ass because Michigan's shown the ability to do that, right?
We saw it yesterday with Deuce Vaughn multiple times. Correct. And we saw it in coverage. Mm-hmm. With Vaughn in coverage, those linebackers didn't know what to do with them. And then we saw it in the run game. One of the long runs that Vaughn had, you know it's ugly when it looks like this. We got a hole right here. We got a Kansas State player right here. We got 2 TCU players right here, and then another K-State guy. That you can't play football like that.
No. Which of these units is under the most pressure? And this doesn't, to me, go necessarily to the 4th ranked one. TCU style of play is a slow roller. Like, I don't know how many games they've trailed at halftime, but their first half plus minus is minus. And then they have to kind of, they get loose and a lot of jabs.
They just
then
sit
they
there
get
and throw
loose.
a lot of jabs.
Look, Michigan's had some of those same issues.
Michigan has too, 100%, but it's
right.
different. I feel like TCU's jabs have like a little. They got like a little tank of nitrous down here, and they can just like at any point in time, one of those jabs could pop.
Right.
I don't quite feel like that. Not saying like Donovan Edwards can't rip off like he can.
Sure,
they have explosive guys, but the style and how they do it, it just doesn't feel that way when you're watching it, right? It's just two different offenses that it just doesn't feel like that when you're sitting there going like, oh yeah, they could pop one off. Like you're probably going to sit there and go, oh yeah, TCU is definitely going to rip one off before Michigan does. If I had to pick, stalemate. You know what I mean?
Listen,
probably not true, but you know,
dude, when you chuck that up to, listen, if you got Max Duggan back there, by the way, shout out to him for that performance. Amazing.
Baller.
Remarkable.
Man.
Remarkable.
Baller.
At any play, he can rise and fire to Quentin Johnston, a 6'5" guy. He looks right a little bit. Your safety trails off, and all of a sudden he's coming back to the left, just putting it up there. Worst case scenario, what? 15-yard penalty? Best case scenario for them? Yep. He catches it, shakes off a tackle, and he's scoring a touchdown. And they can do that on any given play.
Yep.
But to me, TCU's got to they got 4 weeks to get going. They either have to change their tempo, toy with tempo a little bit in that first half. They're going to have to do something.
They got to protect Duggan too.
And they got to protect Duggan because the Wolverines do get pressured, and we've seen that. We watched that against Stroud and O'Connell last night. Michigan is more of a freight train, and they just kind of get the job done overall in process. TCU, to me, is the sports car that stalls, then they get going and they take off. You fall behind this Michigan team, and they're already a possession-eating offense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's going to be a tough.
But they haven't. But honestly, though, they didn't show the propensity. They had two sustained drives against Ohio State the whole game. The one was
the Wolverines.
Right. And I think they both ended up in field goals.
And they start popping off those home runs on the ground.
Well, they popped off 5 home runs at the end. That's again at the end. What I'm saying is when they needed to possess the football, they did it twice, and they did it at a really key time. That end of the third, into the fourth quarter, where they had that long 7-minute drive that just ate Ohio State's chances up. But they, against I think equal opponents, they really haven't shown this like propensity to just dominate and have 6, 7, 8-minute drives like over and over and over again. It's been a little more spread out than you think. Yep. Not saying that they can't, but what I'm saying is that as much of they've done it timeliness, but to your point, George, I think what you were trying to say is they need to be able to do this for 4 quarters against this team, limit their chances, and don't even let them figure out the stall. Like Tranny drops out that thing real quick and it's done.
Bingo.
You know what I mean?